Welcome to Banta with Toni. Join me as I share stories about motherhood, faith, life, love, and everything else in between. I promise we'll also have some fun along the way, and I hope that the time we spend together will end up being some of the highlights of your week. Thank you for coming along. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Banta with Toni. We are now officially in 2025. By the time this episode comes out, it's going to be the very last day of January. And I eased into this, my new year. There was just so much going on that I just felt like this is the time I wanted to try something different. And so I did. And so for me, the new year didn't really start. This month is like a buffer month. It's like a whatever you want to call it, trial and error month. And given the shenanigans that's even happened over the last few weeks, my assessment was correct. Okay. So my 2025 doesn't start until February. And I know I'm not the only one out there because I've shared this sentiment with a lot of people who have agreed with me that, you know what, this month was just a practice run for us to just kind of see how is this year going to go? What is it going to feel like? You know, the nitty gritty is not really starting until February. So I am back with Banta for you guys. I hope you guys missed me. The crazy thing is, originally I had planned to only be gone for like 1 week, but as life was unfolding for me and things were happening, you know, one of the things I learned last year is that I did like to just let go and not have to control everything and kind of let life happen and take place how it should be. And I'm just working more on my ability to adapt as it happens. So yes, my original plan was like, okay, I'm just going to take 1 week off and then that's it. But then I was like, okay, I actually need more time. And then things were happening in life that demanded my time, demanded my attention. I was doing a lot of adjusting. And now I'm starting up again. And I feel like it's the right time for me. I'm in a good headspace. What's going to happen is going to happen. And it's just a beautiful place for me to even be in. So I hope that my listeners, it's the same for you guys, that you guys have kind of eased into this year. I think we needed ease for this year because we kind of anticipated some of the things that were going to be coming for us head on. And so just kind of ease into it. And for me, the feeling that I had coming into the new year, I had fasted. I was telling myself I was going to be more intentional, and I'm really trying to be. This year, I'm actually making an effort of making sure I write everything down in my planner. I have a plan. I have things that I want to get done, and I'm not going to do everything on my list. But the idea of me just having a place where I go off every day and cross off things as I get them done, I know it's another way for me to hold myself accountable. And so this is what Banta is going to be like for this new year that we're in. I will take some breaks throughout the year, but I do want to have longer seasons than we have had in the past. So my hope is that I will put out a bunch of episodes over here. Then we'll take a little break, you know, because respite, okay? Rest is needed and it will be taken. But I hope this 2025, I will be part of the people and part of the memories that you have as we go through this year. We gonna make it. We gonna make it, okay? We are gonna make it by any means possible, by any means necessary. We must move. It must move. Things must shake. Say it with me. We gonna make it. We got this. We good. All right. So while I was gone, of course, you know, there's always stuff. I don't even need to look for it. Stuff just happens. Oh my goodness. So many things to discuss. I probably won't get to cover everything. I'm just doing like the highlights. Netflix while I was gone, because I was trying to like clean my house, get things together, organizing things. I don't know what it was about the new year that was just like, girl, you get your home together. This is like the most organized my house has been. And so now it's like, for me, it's about me maintaining and knowing like my limits, right? What I can do, where I need to ask for help, where I need to hire somebody. Hopefully this will be the year I let go and maybe I will use a laundry service because that laundry is stressing me out. Part of my learning is knowing where I can let things go and just even being able to have the privilege to even do it, because I'm sure there are people who want to use laundry service, but they can't do it. But even being able to have that privilege to say, okay, I can afford to do that. I recognize that. And so me learning just, okay, what are the things that demand the most of my attention and energy and being present so I can give those things my energy. And laundry is not one of them. It's not my calling. It's not my ministry. The only thing I will say, okay, so I got this laundry detergent last year because there was a coworker of mine that she always smells divine. And so one day I was like, what is it that you're wearing? And she told me she was wearing the Tyler Company Diva. Okay. So I have bought that since then. And once I had the Diva laundry detergent, my kids think like it's a free for all. I'm a girl. This is my luxury thing for myself. Do you understand? It's like when you do a kind of career like the one I do, where you're giving to people constantly, you're giving of yourself. Part of your self-care is having like these little luxury things, whatever it might be for you. Maybe it's you giving yourself a $250 massage, $400 massage every month. If you can afford it, yeah, that's your little luxury. So for me, my laundry soap was one of those little luxuries, okay? And then my kids discovered it and they were using that stuff. Like, I'm like, ma'am, this ain't cheap. I bought you some Mrs. Myers. You have the regular Tide that be smelling good too, you know, with the lavender in it. But can you leave my Diva for me? And I started mixing that mug with some Free and Clear. I saw somebody do it on TikTok to make it stretch because I'm like, y'all ain't gonna kill me because I'm not gonna keep buying this laundry detergent every week because y'all want to do 500 loads of laundry. But I'm just saying, like, with laundry, making it smell good and doing that. So I guess that part is nice. So maybe if I just focus more on that, like, okay, I'm just, you know, mixing my laundry detergent together and it smells good and my clothes smell good and my sheets smell good and everywhere smells good. It smells like Diva all around my house. Maybe that'll motivate me more. But as I ease into my new year, like I said, it's just me planning things out, being more intentional. I set my goals of what it is I wanted to do. And I think this month of rejuvenation that I really did not intend to give myself, but I needed, it's teaching me just that ability to be more intuitive, listening to my body, listening to myself, what I need, what I want, knowing where I am right now and the things that are temporary and the things that I have to do to get where I need to be. I've had, like, as Oprah will say, aha moments, even when it comes to like my work. Because for the longest time for me, I'm always like, okay, you have your passions and then you have the things that you do. And during this, my time away and quiet time is just like, okay, but what if the work you do is fulfilling work too? Like, it doesn't mean that these things that I do outside of work, that they don't bring me joy, they don't fulfill me. But it's me like tapping into that higher level of like, okay, the thing that I do, the career that I went into that I wanted to be in for so long, and I don't know where life is going to lead me. I don't know what the future holds. I know I have certain goals for myself, but just being able to say, you know what if this moment that I'm in as well is part of my purpose? I think because for me, for the longest time, it's like I'm looking ahead, I'm looking outside, because I bought into this idea of like, there's a thing that you do that's a career, and then there are the passions and things you have on the side. And it's like, they don't necessarily have to be so distinctive one way or the other. Like, there can be a middle ground, because the work I do is such fulfilling work. Seeing somebody come into a hospital and they are like in one of the worst conditions you can find them. I work with transplant patients. So seeing them get these transplants, you know, they make it away from my unit. They go to a next unit where they do like rehab work. But like, just even seeing somebody like celebrate like that 1 year mark after getting their transplant, it's such transformative work. But it's like meshing the two together. Like, I'm still going to have passions and things that I do outside. But what if my work is also part of my divine purpose, part of the divine thing that I'm supposed to do in this earth? And then when you look at it like that, then it changes your mind, because you're like, well, then how do I want to show up? And that was me learning like, okay, there are ways where the things that I love about design, decorating, putting things together, that can still show up at work, whether it's, you know, me tidying up the place, doing certain things, like that still shows up there. So it's me finding a way to mesh the two, and then realizing like the work that I'm doing, because it's purposeful work, because it's work that's impactful, because it's work that truly I can see the impact of it on a daily basis. It is passionate work, and it's about me, how I show up and how I do it, that it helps to translate. And sometimes, you know, that idea of like faking it till you make it. So if you're doing your work right now, you're not really passionate about it, keep showing up, keep trying to do your best, read Unreasonable Hospitality. Think of the little ways that you can make people's day be brighter in your work, in your field of work. And I promise you, you're going to show up to work one day and you are going to be that person that's like super passionate about their work, super passionate about what they do. And I think it's such a blessing. It's like, for me, I've always looked at it like it's a different level like of operation. Like when I used to look at people that I felt like were truly passionate about the work they do, I feel like they were like on another plane, that I was just envious looking at them, because I'm like, man, can you imagine, like, you're just moving, like the way you move is just a different kind of move. It's a different kind of vibe, like when the passion shows through. So I guess for me, I have learned that sometimes if the passion is not there, it's something that can be cultivated, and you get to experience it more and you get to appreciate it more sometimes, even in that process of cultivation. Okay. Pop culture. I was watching a lot of Netflix. Okay. Netflix decided that all my shows were coming back. And I said, look at that. During my month of hiatus. Oh my gosh. So I started with Dubai Bling. If you don't know now, you know I'm a Dubai Bling kind of chick. And I watched the entire dang season. And I got my family into it too. Even my daughter who was watching it with me. Ibrahim. How many times? How many times am I going to say your name? Okay, I feel like he's going through some stuff personally. And for me, it's always like interesting. This is a conversation I've had with my husband because he will be like, when you're going through stuff, everybody goes through things. But the way like when somebody loves and cares for you and where you stand is like when they're going through stuff, like you don't end up becoming like the punching bag or the thing for that person, right? So for me, it's one of the things I had to work on, especially with the people closest to me, is like when I'm going through stuff, like dealing with my things so that I don't take it out on the ones I loved or the ones that are closest to me. And that is something that I had to learn and get better at over the years. So I say that to say with the fight that ended up happening on was it the last or second to last episode? I think it was the last or second to last. If you haven't watched it yet, fast forward though, because spoiler alert, I don't give you a heads up already. So when he fought his best friend's husband, like, dude, come on. At the time, he's telling you I'm going through stuff in my marriage and all these things. He's just not at that level of maturity yet. I just feel like where he would have known, because when you're at a place like where you're truly aware of that stuff and you're working through it, first you're going to know I'm going through a tough time right now. I'm the type of person, if like I'm going through a tough time, that's the time like I'm going to go more within. So you probably will not see me. You will not see me. You will not hear from me. 2024 challenged me for the first time in my life, like when I'm going through stuff, to like reach out to people or say, this is what I'm going through. And the result on the other side of it has been like amazing for me. But that's like the first time in my life I've even allowed myself to be vulnerable like that. So for me, it's like, you will never know, because you're just gonna be like, where has Toni been? That heifer's been missing. Okay. She's been gone. You don't know where she's at. Where's Toni? You're looking for her like, where's Waldo? But we can't find her nowhere. Okay, you will not find me, because maybe it's the idea of like me going through stuff and not wanting to like burden people or do whatever. But I'm going to be like within myself, because I'm going to try to figure out what it is that's happening. How am I going to adjust? Because sometimes when changes and things are happening to you, you just need a moment to just like adjust, be to yourself. But that's where I am at today. And now I'm actively working to, okay, let certain people in that I trust, that I know will be there for me, that I know can, take my moments of weakness and I will never have to hear about it from somebody else, or will turn it around and weaponize it and all those things. But it took me years to come to that. So I think also like it's a beautiful thing, because it means now I'm in a space that the people that I do share things with, like I trust them, and that's a beautiful thing. I'm very lucky that I even have that today, because for the longest time in my life, I didn't. So for me, it's like Ibrahim is going through stuff and he knows, okay, I'm fighting with my wife. All these things are happening. So it's like within yourself, why didn't you take the time away? And, we don't get to see everything on the show. At the end of the day, these shows are reality shows. They create storylines, they create events, blah, 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 blah. But we don't know everything that's going on in his life. So let's just assume that, in regular life that he is like, sitting down with his wife, talking, figuring things out or whatever. But just being in that place of consciousness to knowing that I am struggling right now, or things are not going well in my life right now. So I need to withdraw, or I need to pull myself away before I hurt people who I care about. And I think if he had been more actively thinking about that, like, okay, this is a time where I need to focus more on me. So maybe I do take a little break from the show, focus on my marriage, because at the end of the day, a show or my marriage, which one is more important? Hello. Because his spouse chooses not to be on the show. So that also makes it kind of difficult, because think about, he's a businessman. He spends a lot of time probably outside working on his different ventures. Then he's filming a show on top of that. And then you're a newlywed. So what time have you really had probably to spend with your wife? That's just my assessment. So I feel like it was situations that he was going through where he just needed to step back and say, how am I going to just like step back, do what I have to do, take care of myself so I can be good. If he was more aware of that, then I feel like the fight wouldn't have happened, because you violated somebody in like one of the most annoying ways possible. And for me, it's like that stuff has happened to me in my own life, where it's like, okay, I see you that you're struggling right now, that you're going through something right now. And you have kind of like shown me your little fangs. And so because I've now seen your fangs, like I must withdraw myself so you have the room and the space for you to deal with what you're going to deal with. And maybe we can come back at a later time and try to fix this relationship, or try to do whatever it is that we were trying to do here before. But I'm going to bow out. I'm going to bow out. You're not going to see me for a while, because you need to work on that stuff. And so you telling people that I'm pregnant when I was supposed to let our group of friends know, you violated me. Like, and the guy kept telling, like, he was pissed, because how are you the one telling people that somebody is pregnant and you don't see anything wrong with it? It's like, oh, they asked me. But again, because you're dealing with things within yourself that you are trying to escape, that you're not trying to address. So then you are then putting your mouth, your foot, your leg, all parts of your body into other people's own thing, and now collecting strays that are not meant for you, because there you go, sharing things that you were not meant to share. It was not even your announcement to make. Like, how rude. So I never condoned violence, but I could see where that guy came from. And then when he's retelling the story, I'm like, dude, you threw the whole table at the guy first, and then he took plates and hey, God, I did not see that coming. I was thinking the girls were going to fight. What's her name? What's the one that's super loud? Oh, Lord. The one that's always fighting with her husband. I forgot her name now. I thought that one and what's the other girl's name? The Indian girl. I thought they were going to be the ones to fight on the show, like physically. But when it was the two guys, I did not see that coming. But Ibrahim, he fought with like the other lady's husband earlier in the season. Like, he was just over here. Dude, just go home and deal with your stuff. Just go home. Go home, man. Go home. Stay off the show. So Dubai Bling was very entertaining this season. Let's just say that. And then once I got done with that, then I started watching Young, Rich and African. I'm not done yet with Young, Rich and African. I'm only 2 episodes in, and somebody needs to give Annie a neck brace. Somebody needs to give Annie Idibia a neck brace. Honey, I mean, that neck, this is one of those times that I wish that I had a video going with my podcast, because I can do, the neck was necking. I mean, parallel parking. She parallel parks that neck. I mean, swanky. Oh my gosh, Annie. And whoever is doing the wigs on this season needs to get fired. You are out of there. You're out of there. Oh my goodness. I have never in my life. And there were other shots, like there's a shot when Annie actually has like her natural hair. It's done in this beautiful cut. She looks gorgeous. And so then I get pissed because I'm like, what in the heck? And then, you know me, I'm not wig this thing. The only reason why nowadays, even if you see me, my wigs might look a little bit better, is because I'm doing those 5x5. I know my limitations. I am not a 13x2 girl. It's not in my calling. I cannot sit here and lay a 13x2 and melt it and blah, 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 blah. It's not for me. That's not where the Lord sent me. He did not send me into those ministries. He said, Toni, you're going to have a mic in front of you. You're going to say some things and some people are going to listen. But putting a 13x2 is not for you. And I said, Lord, I hear you. That's where I'm at. Okay? I cannot. So I do my little 5x5 because I can do my little got to be spray. I can do that one. I can manage with that one. Even some days, that one still, the wig is not wigging. Before I say now, go and collect a whole, and then they tell you guys, don't cut it straight. When you're cutting the hairline, doing it in a zigzag. Come on now. How are you a professional person doing wig on a TV show and you don't know this? Is this straight cut that was killing me last night when I was watching this thing? I said, why is this? Oh Lord. She needs to get fired. Or he. And then, why is everybody wearing 360 wigs, but y'all don't know how to keep that stuff down? The people filming this show are shady as heck. Shady. I cannot. So you are filming these people, they are feeling themselves, thinking they're doing something, only for you guys to come in the cutting room and be showing how the back of their wigs are lifting up. You guys are not it. You guys end ish. You guys end ish. I was like, why are you guys doing my African people like this? And then I don't know if nobody has told them. One of the best things I loved last year when I did my hair was I discovered this little U-part wig where I could leave my hair in the front, because like I said, I'm not a lace queen. It's just not in my DNA. I'm not. I have watched videos. I have bought. It's not for me. It's not my ministry. So the U-part, where you leave a little bit of your hair out, none of them have discovered that. I'm gonna need somebody to discover that on that show, because some people on there, I'm like, you probably look way better if you just leave some of your hair out in the front and just do a U-part thing. Like, let's do some fun things. And then you guys are in Africa where you could get the hair braided for $30. How come none of y'all are wearing braids too? Can we talk about that? Instead, you guys are here with these. Why now? Why? Oh Lord, the embarrassment. Remember, you guys are representing all of us. Please. We already have a reputation where they always think African girls can't do weave and we can't do wigs and da. Then you guys come on a whole TV. It's different when it's me in my regular life. Nobody knows who I am. When I show up somewhere, who even knows me? Nobody. But you collected yourself, put yourself in front of a whole TV for millions of people to watch, and your wig front is bad like this and your back is raised. The wedding, Zari's wedding, that her best friend, the back raised. Oh my gosh. And then who else? Everybody's back of their wig. I said, what? 360 is not for you. If 360 is not for you, it's not for you. It's okay. Get you a 5x5 and leave the 360s alone. Or go to the braiding side. Find a side, but this side ain't it. And before I could even get into the show, I've already heard the drama between Annie Idibia and her husband. I've heard all the different analysis about how he's took all the years of her life and, now he's filing for divorce and, she's going through stuff. That's why it shows up on the show. These shows are like, reality shows are not scripted, but they're definitely calculated. So a lot of the things that we experience, that we get to consume for the show, it's situations that producers have put together. They know that, oh, you know what? You're not invited to the wedding, but you're going to still show up as +1 for this person. Like, different things to just make things exciting. So that's how the new girl came into the show, on somebody's wedding days when you're popping up. But, so you take everything that you see like with a grain of salt, because it's them kind of like, they don't script it, but they definitely create things, put people in certain situations to give a certain outcome. Let's just say that. So, the Annie stuff, half of the time I'm like, okay, she just sees it as an opportunity. Like, I'm going to be the one to say this, or I'm going to be the one to say that. But I don't think in real life that's really how she'll go. But I feel like Annie has willingly been in the relationship with Two-Face as long as she has been in it. I think she has benefited over the years from having a certain status, having a certain amount of access to things that she has been okay with. I don't know how old she is, but I do know that there are women out there who exist that come from that train of thought, like men are going to be men, right? So it's like he's going to do all these things and he'll continue to do these things and they don't see anything wrong with it. What she doesn't realize over the years is that no matter how much money, no matter how much status, no matter how much this or that, that relationship was slowly eroding her soul. And I mean, he's the one that even filed. So that also tells me too that if he has not been the one to pull the plug, it would have kept on going. I don't think Annie has seen anything wrong with the situation that she has found herself in. She has made peace with what she has. You can tell she has a close relationship with the kids. So, she finds her solace in putting her energy into her children and into her work. So I think it's a situation. When you look at it from the outside, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe blah, 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 blah. But that woman looked like she was very comfortable with what she was in and she was okay with it being that way. I know she had the first season when she came on the show and talked about the things that he has done and she wasn't happy with it. But if you weren't happy with it, you wouldn't have renewed the wedding vows. You wouldn't have continued to stay in there. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like maybe she doesn't even realize it, but to a certain point, she was definitely complacent in, the way their situation was. That old saying, like you show somebody how to treat you. So she has shown him, I will put up with this and I will be fine, or I'll find other ways to deal and cope with life. And only the two of them know what actually happened for him to be the one to pull the plug. But I feel like if he hadn't pulled the plug, she would still be with him. And even then, given like how long they've been together and the things that she has overlooked, I feel like I won't believe it until I believe it, like, okay, that they're truly not together anymore, because I can see him coming back, reconciling, doing whatever it is that he has done forever, and then she giving in. So I've been seeing lots of opinions online and I'm just like, man, this woman is kind of going through a tough time right now. This is not the time to take whatever is happening from a scripted show and like kind of move it over to her real life. And again, it's not like necessarily scripted, but a show that's like, the drama is created. Let's just say that. So you can't take like something from like a creative show and try to pass it on like it's real life, because it's not. And it can be easy. I mean, to be in the spotlight, everybody has judgments, everybody has opinions. And again, that's what I'm saying. Like, there are certain things in the show that it's hard for you to know, like, is this her being on the show or is this how she is in real life? She comes off on the show as very classist. She comes off of the show of sometimes the things with our African people that I kind of find like annoying is this idea, like if you help somebody or you were doing something for somebody to a certain point and they achieve something, it's like now they owe their whole life to you. It also puts them in a place like where any kind of bad behavior that you have, any kind of bad behavior towards that individual is excused because you have helped them and you should just be grateful. So I've had this conversation about gratitude in so many ways, but I think one of the things that annoys me is that in our African culture, it shows up in a very classist way. That gratitude is only supposed to be there for a certain class of people. So it's like, I helped you. Who are you? You have heard her say that so many times. This small boy, people are looking to kill him. He cannot show his face in Lagos because do you know who I am? Even when she was fighting with the girls in the last episode I saw, she's looking at Swanky. Swanky, you're not going to do. What do you want him to do? Is he the one that opened his mouth and was talking to people left and right, front and center? What do you want Swanky to do? What do you want from him? I don't understand. But I'm only 2 episodes into this new season, so I guess we'll have to see how it pans out. But is that idea like, okay, because you helped him now, like for the rest of his life, he's supposed to be indebted to you. And it's almost like that idea, like they're always supposed to be under you. And for me, whenever I'm dealing with Africans and I get a whiff, there are some people, though, they can accept that you're going to be in somebody's life and you're always going to be less than them and da. Good for you. That's how you want it to be. Continue. But for me, The minute I sniff that out, we gotta go. Maybe it's the Leo in me, but I ain't gonna be nobody's. You should be grateful too, because baby, isn't it the same air that we both breathe in? And this God that we serve is a very mighty God. Like today you might be up, you might need me. I mean, I might need you, but tomorrow you never know. I might be up and you might need me. And I feel like that's part of what is even translated in her and Swanky's relationship. Like Swanky is now, styling people from all over, getting clients left and right. We all know who Annie is, but Swanky's making a name for himself. But that's what happens, like time, growth, things are going to happen. True friendships, you're going to have a time when somebody is up and when somebody is down. Now, you cannot expect, because you've always been down there and I've always helped you. Like, you're the one I've always borrowed stuff to. And now I must be the one to go and ask you. Like some people, they don't deal well when there's that switch or when the flip happens. And it's unfortunate because a lot of times that's when somebody's true feelings for you really comes out. How they handle you. Anybody can be best friends with you or do whatever with you when they feel like you're less than them. But if life starts happening for you and things starts coming up and you start getting better than them, how they react to it, that will show you. And then sometimes you might be like that kind of helpful person, which is what has happened to me in the past. Like you might be the helpful person to like help somebody, help them get over whatever. Like you're not even thinking of a place of that. And then that individual gets something that they think now has one up you. And now they're showing off like you did that, but I did this. And it's like, I came here to help you. I would obviously want you to be great and be good. But clearly you have some feelings or things that you need to deal with and work through, because now in your head, you were competing with me and I wasn't even competing with you. That one-sided competition. Annie is definitely in a one-sided competition when it comes to Swanky, because Swanky has found his Zen space that he's like, at least so far in the season, I keep saying, because I'm only 2 episodes in. But he's just like, why would I be bothered? I pray for her. I hope she finds joy. I hope she finds peace. For real. She's in a one-sided thing. But like when somebody's like competing with you, but you are competing by yourself, because I was never in competition with you. And then now then you feel like you have done something or you have achieved something. What is it? Relax. Life is good. Like we can all eat. We can all be good. It doesn't have to be that way. And now it's like, I must show myself. Relax. please. But those one-sided competition are always funny to me, because like I wouldn't even clock it like right away. I'm just like la-di-da. A lot of times I'm just in my own world, really. And then it'll kind of like throw you off, because sometimes it would be like if I'm places you don't expect. I was seeing this post a lot online about when somebody was saying about people might have more than you and all these things, but they'll be jealous of you. And I'm like, I had never experienced that in my life until later on in adulthood. But I'm like, really? Because like when I look at you, I think you have this and I don't have that, or you have this and I don't have, like, I would never once think that you would be. But there you go. So Annie and Swanky right there. Annie, you have more status, at least so we think. But even that's subjective, because there are rooms that Swanky can get into that you cannot. Even the clothes that you're able to wear, I'm sure at one point is because of his styling efforts and his connections and all those things. So even that, when you're saying, oh, I'm more than you, life is all about perspective. You're more than him to a certain degree in certain things, maybe. And it's all about who you're talking to that it matters to. So if you're talking to like the old school Africans that, like know your husband and know all those things, then yeah, they're going to put you up to a higher status than him. But if you're talking to some of the new age kids, they will be like, we're Team Swanky. So, I mean, it's all subjective, but what does it exactly mean? Like, you have, from the outside looking in, I guess, more money than him, or all these things, but clearly there's a thing of jealousy there. There's a thing of, I want you to make it, but don't make it this far. Like, come on now. We got to take that stuff away. It's so annoying. And I hate it that it's part of our African culture. So we got to do better with that. I feel like I've been on this pop culture stuff for a minute. So those are the 2, Dubai Bling, coming into the new year and talking about Young, Rich, and African. Okay. Yeah, that is the name of the show. Anyways, the first topic of 2025 that we're going to talk about today is an idea that I started thinking about really last year, but I was trying to figure out how to like put it into words. So I'll kind of like tell you guys the backstory that kind of led to it. But it's about fighting the right battles and having the energy to fight the battles that matter the most. And like I talked about before, I would never come on this mic and say anything that I myself have not worked through, I'm currently working through, or can teach. Like, let's just say that. So I'll never speak about things that are not authentic to me, my experience, what I'm going through, to help the next person. So fighting the battles. So last year, if you're keeping track of like African politics, or maybe you don't, so I'm about to give you a little bit of education. Oh. Aliko Dangote one of the richest men in Africa, one of the richest men in Nigeria, he decided that, you know what, I want to build an oil refinery. And he decided that, you know what, we are one of the richest nations and we have oil. Oil is one of the biggest exports out of Nigeria. So Aliko Dangote is a Nigerian entrepreneur, businessman. And he has made his wealth from selling cement, sugar, a lot of like the basic stuff. So one lesson you're going to learn from Aliko Dangote is, if you want to make some good money, find something that people cannot do without, that it's a basic need, and you'll be fed. I am currently in the process of finding that. What can you people not live without that I can provide for you on a daily basis? That whether the economy is good or bad, look at that. You need cement. People are still building. They might build a little bit less, but they still gonna need cement. Whether the economy is good or bad, you're gonna need that cement. Okay. He found that thing. So start searching for your own thing. What is it gonna be? Anyways, back to the main point. So he decided, you know what, I'm going to build an oil refinery because Nigeria is a big oil producer, but they don't refine their own oil. So what happens is they produce the oil, they send it out, it gets refined, and then it gets sent back to them. So it's kind of like stupid, redundant, waste of money, inefficient, whatever word that you have discovered in your dictionary today that you want to use to show that it is not that word. So he decided, you know what, Nigeria can have their own refinery. And to just give you a little history, at one point, Nigeria did have their own refinery. They do have it currently, but because of corruption, because of a lot of things that go wrong, like typical African politics, that mug ain't been working like it needs to. So this refinery is going to be privately owned, whereas the other ones that exist, I think maybe one or two. Don't quote me on that part, but I do know that they have, but it's like government owned. So Aliko said, I'm going to do this, and he did. So that man put together his billions, built that refinery, and it was time for them to give him oil. Now, like I said, Nigeria exports a lot of their oil, but based on the laws of the land, there's a certain percentage. And again, don't quote me, but I think it's like 20% or so that they are supposed to reserve that does not get sent out of the country. And so this is the part that has been promised to him, right? So he's going to go out, he's going to get other oil. I'm sure he's going to figure out other things because again, he is a billionaire. He has good connects. Like Bill Gates showed up to his daughter's wedding and some other stuff. Like he rubs shoulders with all the other billionaires of the world. So he's going to do what he has to do. But a certain percentage of the oil that's produced in Nigeria is supposed to be reserved and not all of it should get shipped out. So obviously with politics in Africa, some of that has been used and does not get preserved as it should. So probably the percentage that actually stays in the country is way lower than 20. But he was acting on good faith. I don't know why. I'm like, dude, are you not African? What is happening? And was expecting that amount was present, the 20% that's supposed to be there. So he got his refinery together and he's like, give me oil. And they're like, what oil? He's like, I need oil. They're like, huh? You want some olive oil? We have some canola oil for you, honey, but we ain't got none of that. We ain't got no gas. No gas for you. So it was interesting. It was like towards the end of the year last year, because I watch Arise News a lot. That's where I learn all the things that I do about what's going on in Nigeria. I trust that source. It's like my favorite. I learn a lot from them. So I love watching that. But it was interesting seeing all the drama that was going on in politics last year when that was coming on. Because it's like, who does he think he is? Like, this is not how it works. This is blah, 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 blah. And as I was watching that, I had opinions. Me and my husband would go back and forth. We would talk about it even with certain friends, like when we'll hang out, like this is part of the problem with us as Africans. But one of the things that I kept thinking about then, and it's like sparked the topic I'm talking about today, I thought to myself, first of all, he's trying to do something that's revolutionary. I think it's like one of the biggest refineries that's ever been built or something like that. Like he's already doing something that's revolutionary and he's still going to have to go out there and fight to get oil in the international space. I think that's expected. And like I said, he's connected. I'm sure he's going to figure out a way to get it done. I mean, you don't become a billionaire by just waking up and being lazy daisy about things. Like you're going to figure out how to get done what you need to get done. But I thought of the fact that so much energy has already been spent kind of like sabotaging what he's trying to do, fighting from within, like fighting his own people, fighting the things closest to him that is like, he might not even have the energy or be capable. And I'm just now saying this like from a personal standpoint, when the time comes for him to fight the big heads abroad that he needs to, because when he goes now on the international stage and it's like, okay, we need this certain amount of oil or we're producing this and, you know, Nigeria will probably even get to the point where they're refining oil to send it to other countries. Now he's playing a different ball game. That's a whole different kind of fight that needs to happen, because it's going to be a fight. I mean, oil money, we have all seen the results of it. So you got to fight and protect what you got. For the African culture, I feel like sometimes we spend so much time and energy fighting the things closest to us, fighting the people that look like us, fighting those things that you think to yourself, how much does that take away from us, that then when we have to show up to the world? And that's where the fight really counts, because let's be honest, you should not even be fighting the people closest to you. But that's just how life has worked out for us. When you get to the point where the fight really counts, sometimes you're exhausted because the word I wanted to use right there, the Lord will not approve. Those miscreants. Those miscreants that you are fighting that are closest to you, the people that look like you, the people from your country, all of that energy that you now spent there, when that should have been energy you would have put towards fighting the most important things. And sometimes I just think about, because it's something that I've experienced in my life and something that I've seen people experiencing in their lives. And sometimes when it's not even handled well, it derails so many people, right? You spend that time that you could have been using to do things that are going to benefit you, grow you, put you to another level, but you're just fighting to survive because you're fighting with the people closest to you. Like, think about how much that drains you, that by the time you get to the real battle, you get to the real place that you're supposed to be fighting, you ain't got nothing left in the tank, okay? So if you've ever been in that place where you're like, man, because of the traumas of my life, the things that I've had to experience, the things that I'm going through, I feel like I'm constantly fighting these battles that when I get out there and now I need to fight in the world to do what I need to do, I ain't even got no energy left because these people have taken all the dang energy. That's that one, that feeling. If you've ever been there, this episode is for you today, because I have been there and I've been on the other side of that, and it's not been an easy thing. Finding peace, protecting that peace, whoo, Lord, we're going to take a moment. But I'm hoping that when you leave this episode that I would have left you with at least some things to kind of think about, that if you're going through that right now, it can be like, okay, I listened to this podcast and this is what this lady said that has helped her. And these are the stories that I can come back to, or maybe one day you will experience these things. And I come to see that maybe it's one of those things like where everybody gets to experience it. There are people out there, the ones closest to you are going to be the ones to support you. There are many communities that we can think of where it's like, okay, like in the Asian district, for example, a lot of their customers, you're going to see us Africans shop in those Asian district, but a lot of their customers are going to be Asians, and it'll be Asians even specifically like from that country, from that region. And I always think to myself, I'm like, they will never truly like ever have to worry about going out of business or not existing, because every time I go to like Koreatown or every time I go and shop at my Asian markets, their demographic is their people, and they're going to support them and they're going to do what's needed to be done. And then I always translate it to my own, because I'm like, well, if a person from my country was to open up a store and I have that store, will enough of my people show up and support it to the point that they don't even need to worry about somebody else? And the answer to that is a big fat no. I know now some of us are working through it, but if we're going to be honest with ourselves, which is what I hope we're all doing in 2025, the answer to that is a big fat no. And I think a lot of African people, a lot of our Black people across the diaspora, we can say that we're confident on our chest. So imagine now you're a new business owner. You have to fight with your own people. You have to fight with sometimes the narrative that they might create because somebody feels some kind of way that you started a business, and now they're going to start a rumor that you don't stole the money. You're a drug dealer. You ain't got no money, no way. Blah, blah, blah. And you're going to have to deal with that. They're going to call the feds on you, call the health inspection because you open a new restaurant. When they see that you are doing well and say that you have cockroach, so they'll come now, inspect your restaurant, close it down. In fact, they might be the one to get the cockroach and put it inside there. Oh my gosh, that you ain't even got time because you have been busy putting out all these little fires. You don't even have time to actually, or the energy to fight what we need to fight. And I am at the point in my life, I will always look at what is colonialism? What did slavery do? What did all these things do? But I'm at the point in my life where it's like, I'm putting fire under our feet. I'm asking us, what are we doing? What have we not done right? I'm going to come on this podcast and sometimes you might not like everything I say. You might not agree with everything I say. That's fine. I'm past that point in my life where I need validation from anybody outside of me. But we need to have these conversations because We cannot always keep telling the narrative of what was done to us and the unfairness. They still exist in the world, but there are lots of things that it is that we do to each other. And until we start taking responsibility for those things and saying, how do we fix it so the next generation does not get to feel that? How do we first acknowledge these things, accept these things, because the denial, my gosh, is huge, and say, yeah, this is how we are. And then how do we fix it? That's the only way it can be better for our children and our children's children. I don't know about you, but I'm in the business of making life better for everybody that comes after me. That's where this is based off of. Like, when I saw that story, I just was like, man, he's spending so much time fighting others that he shouldn't be fighting, that when he gets to the main stage where that's where he's going to have to battle. Because can you imagine? They'll be like, who's this African trying to think he's going to come in here and get all this oil? Like, that's where the real battle is at. But Aliko don't spend 2 years fighting Nigerian government. Like, why is this our story all the time? I want us to change it. I want us to do better. I want it to be better for us, because I feel like we missed the mark so much. One of the points that they brought up when I was watching Arise News was like, he was supposed to have done a little bit more homework. He should have done some work in the background, like before he even got far into the refinery process, because now he had put all the money, he had all the equipment, but he had no oil. And so somewhere, somehow, the ball got dropped. Like, he should have known like the games that they were going to play. Like, he thought in good faith what they promised they were going to deliver. No, they ain't. So same thing in your regular everyday life. What are the ways that maybe you assume that people are going to do certain things, show up for you a certain way, do this and do that? But then at the end of the day, it creates a conflict. It creates something that you end up having to fight and deal with that ultimately distracts you from and takes energy away from that which you're trying to accomplish, or the thing that needs all your energy and time. So first, creating boundaries, but 2, looking and seeing, I should have known better. I should have done a little bit more homework here. I know some people feel like that's putting yourself down, but anytime something bad happens or something does not go the way it needs to, I am going to search within myself and figure out, what did I do wrong? What did I get wrong? What did I miss? It's not a chance for me to just kind of bash myself and make myself feel low, but it's understanding that there's always room for improvement. So I'm never here, oh, everything I do is perfect. Like, no, what could I have done better? And so when things are taking your energy or taking your time that don't need to, sometimes you do have to ask yourself how, and I've said this last year, but what role do you play in your own misery? How do you make a situation that was probably already bad even worse? So that's that. It took me a while to understand this. Definitely when I was younger, I used to be afraid of conflicts. Then I had to learn that there are conflicts that are necessary, because those ones lead to growth. And then there are the petty ones. Now, the petty ones, it was funny because my brain had to switch. As girls, like, you know, like when you fight over like the littlest things, growing up and all that, you spend so much time on the petty things. And then if you don't have a mind shift when you become an adult, it carries on where it's like, I'm not going to be sitting here arguing about who had the best car, who who had this and this. Like, what? I don't have time for that, shiggity. I don't have time for that. Conflicts that you need to have that are necessary, that are going to lead to growth. Maybe a tough conversation you need to have with somebody. There have been people in my life who, like, whenever it's a crucial moment, like, that's when they would choose to like want to have like the biggest drama. And I'm like, there's a pattern here of you always showing up like this, but it's always like whenever I'm trying to do something. And I have now acknowledged it. I've now seen it. So I'm letting you know these are the things I'm putting in place, because we can't keep having this. And you're now aware of it. Okay. Now I've had this conversation with you. That's not a pleasant conversation. Nobody wants to hear that, oh, I've noticed this behavior and you tend to do these things, right? Nobody wants to hear that. But sometimes even having that conversation with yourself to even acknowledge that that's what that person is doing, sometimes that in itself is the conflict, because it's not even every time that you're even talking to the individual, but coming to see, okay, this person is my best friend. But every single time I have like a good news or something, she finds a way to like put it down, or she'll bring the conversation back around herself, or she'll make me kind of second guess that thing that I was so excited about or felt a kind of way. You have noticed that pattern. So sometimes even the sitting down within yourself and realizing this is what I've seen or what I've known, that can be very tough for you, because it's a person that you would be like, I grew up with this person. I've been friends with her my whole life. So for me to notice that she feels this way, clearly things that she has to work through that has nothing to do with me, but she always ends up making me feel this way or create these environments that make me always feel less than. That's a tough realization to come to for yourself. So sometimes the conflict is even like internal conflict before you even sit down now and say, this is a conversation I'm going to have with this individual. What's needed? What's necessary? What's petty? What's worth your energy? Ask yourself that all the time with any of your conflicts. And always assessing your emotion. Like, For me, I don't know if it's maybe being a Leo or whatever, but I realize, anger always leads me to one, making decisions that I always regret, but it clouds my assessment of things so much that when I look back, when I'm like, okay, and when I'm fine, I'm even like flabbergasted by who I was and what I did. And I think that's the truth for everybody. Anger is just a very deadly thing. So learning how to separate, or step back or step away when something makes you angry so that you can come back to it with a level head, level mind, and having people that honor that. And if those individuals don't honor that when you're saying, I need time, I need this, I need that, then if they're in a kind of relationship where you have to reevaluate, you're like, okay, well, then I just can't be around you because you just don't know how to honor that. If they're in a relationship where you cannot reevaluate because that's your mama or somebody, then you're going to have to keep letting them know. There will be 500 million times I'm going to have to tell you that's a boundary and you're crossing it. And I'm not doing that. I told you I wasn't going to do that. I'm still not doing it. It's a Thursday. I'm not doing it. Call me back on Friday. It's still going to be a no. You call me next year. It's a no for me, dog. In the words of one great Randy Jackson. But establishing those boundaries, right? It can be so hard. Oh my gosh. But establishing your boundaries so that your anger does not get out of control. So okay, I need to step back. Right now, you're triggering me. Right now, you're doing certain things that I cannot handle. So I'm going to step back from this situation, from this conversation, from whatever, and we're going to come back to it. Okay? Yeah. It's tough. It takes practice. And you're going to have that unruly. What other word can I use? You're going to have that unruly person that is like, you are saying it, but they don't want to observe it. You are going to have to find the rule because I'm going to keep standing on business. I done told you I ain't talking about this no more because you are not going to get me angry. So I'm not. You are going to have to stand in the corner by yourself because it's not worth my peace. But no, for real, I wish I had more time to really dive into this. I feel like I need to have a part 2 of this conversation. But there's so many pieces that I think once we figure out how do we maintain our peace, and I think, yeah, that's probably what I would do. I'll come back next week and we'll continue this topic because I feel like it's such an important one. And like I said, I gave the example with Aliko Dangote. So I feel like it's one that we experience on all different levels. It doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, or whatever, you are going to experience this. And like I said, I'm always speaking from an African standpoint, but I'm well aware there are other people in this world and that there are other cultures that can definitely relate from the fact that sometimes we are fighting the battles within ourselves, within people that look like us, with the people that are sometimes closest to us, all these things that exhaust us and drains us. And then we don't have the energy to fight the battles that matter the most when we go out into the world. So there will be a part 2. Hopefully you heard something today that resonates with you, maybe something that you're going to try out for yourself. If you have any questions, if you have any stories, you guys don't forget, if you have stories, if you have Spotify, you can go on there and you can leave a message. You can leave something for me. That way I can be able to listen or come back and reply back to you. Don't be afraid. Share stories with me because I do want to hear more about how people are navigating, fighting those unnecessary battles, those petty things that drain you, that take all this energy from you. And we are trying to be better. And one of the ways where we can be better is saying, I have goals and dreams I want to reach, but I keep fighting unnecessary bullshiggity. And those unnecessary bullshiggities put me behind, that I'm not then able to focus on the things that demand so much of my energy and time. And we're not doing that in 2025. We are going to accomplish these goals. We're going to do these things that we set out to do. And part of them is evaluating, okay, how do I have to change? Because you don't expect other people to change. You have to change first. So it's like, okay, I'm going to learn. I'm going to have to learn how to protect my peace, how to fight my battles, which ones are petty, which ones are necessary, how to control my anger, right? Those are the 3 things we've talked about already today. Assessing the situation. What role do I play in it that also disrupts my peace? That was the 4th one that we talked about. The role that you play that also disrupts your peace. But we're going to get it this year. I'm claiming it for all of us because we just have to. And we're going to do it together. So come back next week because I've already passed my time. For this episode, it's going to be long as heck. But I hope you guys have had a wonderful start to this 2025. I know it's the end of the month, but I felt like it couldn't have started any other way for me. I couldn't have been where I am today, mentally, physically, at the beginning of the year. No way, Jose. I needed to be here on the 31st, and that's the day this episode is coming out. For those of you who listened last year that are coming back, continuing to listen to me, I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, I am so grateful that you're continuing on this journey and that at the end of 2025, we're going to look back together all of us and just be like, man, what a year it's been. And I hope that there would have been something from these episodes throughout the year that would have resonated with you, helped you along the way somehow to encourage you, for us to keep going, for us to know that we got this and we're going to make it. Book. So I finally finished Yinka, Where's Your Husband? Oh my gosh, that was a very good read. I liked it a lot. Right now, I'm reading The Secret Life of Baba Shei's Wives. And that one, I wasn't too sure because the way it started, I was like, the subject matter, I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot deal. But so far, I think I'm on like chapter 4 and it's kind of picked up because now it's kind of telling the story of one of the wives and it's been interesting. So I'm giving it a chance. So I'm reading The Secret Life of Baba Shei's Wives. That's the book I'm reading currently. Like I said, I read Unreasonable Hospitality last year. That was in the time when I wasn't doing a podcast. So if you don't want to read a fiction, you want to read something that's self-help, I will definitely recommend that book. It is a game changer. It's wonderful. It's great. Let's see. Song of the week. I've been reading more. So I've been reading more and watching TV. Let me just be honest. I've been reading more, watching TV. And like I said, I've been working 4 days a week. So I've been tired, girl. I've been tired. So I don't really have like songs that I've been like jamming to all the time, but I do have a few. So let's see. Let me do Tour by Ruger. So it was my girls that actually put me onto the song and then when I heard it, the beat, I was like, stop with it. Stop. You nasty with it. Stop it now, Ruger. Dun, 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 dun. Come on. So Ruger, I hope that's how you're saying his name because I don't think it's Roger. I think it's Ruger. Tour, so Tour by Ruger, Ruger. That's how you spell the artist name. He's a Afrobeats artist, and that song just go hard. That beat. It just goes hard. Okay. And then you know how it is over here. We are going to do our regular music, and then we are doing things that uplift our soul and nourish our spirit. And so I have to give you a gospel recommendation. Okay. And this one is another worship one. Like, last year, I don't know if I ever shared, so I guess I'm going to do 2, right? Because this was one that I liked last year. And I feel like this one that I'm going to bring up for this week is very similar. So last year, I loved I Will Pray. And I want to make sure I get Ibuka Song's I Will Pray was one of my favorite songs last year. And all he was doing in there was just like chanting. Like, you just, I will pray, I will pray. If I don't pray, then like Satan will make a mess of me. But it's that idea, like I have to be guarded. I have to be guarded in my spirit in every single thing I'm doing, because if I don't do that, then that is how the devil is able to enter and make me his plaything. And it's like, he cannot make me his plaything. I cannot be his plaything. No. So I must pray. Okay. So I Will Pray by Ibuka Songs. Love that. And then I heard this song. It was actually on Instagram. Like somebody had it on their video and I was like, what is that song? And then it's a Yoruba song. So it's called Iwo. So IWO Loba, LOBA. And it's by Uches Music and Theophilus Sunday. And it's another one that's just like, when I hear like African chanting like that, like for me, it's just a deep worship. So these two songs go together. I just feel like it's like I listen to one and then I want to listen to the other one, taking you to a deeper level of worship. And I think worship is so important because it's actually like one of my favorite parts, like when I go to church. Like obviously I love the praise part. We're going to sing, we're going to dance. But the worship, literally, like that's where I close my eyes and it's like nobody else exists in that room but me. And so for me, it's like I go into that deep space when I'm in church. It's me creating that at home for myself too. So like whether I'm in my car, listening to music, putting on my headphones, doing chores around the house, whatever it is, but to be in that space is like where nothing else exists but just me and God, like being in his presence. And it's like, yeah. And these songs just help to take me there, to put me in that place. And so I suggest to you, if you don't have a good like worship experience or worship practice, get into it. And maybe worship music can be one of the ways that you get into it, but it's a great way to be in the spirit. Sometimes it's such a cathartic thing. So those are my song recommendations and those are my book recommendations. I will see you guys next week for the part 2, because this is such an important topic that I think we need to have a part 2 so I can get all the points I want to get across, because we're going to start out 2025 with a bang and we are going to do what we said we're going to do, and we're going to succeed regardless of what's going on around us, regardless of who's around us, and nobody got time for that. Okay? We are going to make it by any means necessary and we got this. So my lovely listeners, thank you guys so much, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye. You just finished an episode of Banta with Toni. Did you like it? I hope you had a great time and that you have some takeaways from this episode. But before you go, I want to ask you one thing, and that is to share this episode or this entire podcast with a friend, family member, or acquaintance. Because remember, when you have something good, you need to talk about it. You need to share it and you need to shout it from the rooftops. So go on and let people know in your life that you have this wonderful podcast that you would like to share with them. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, your support, and everything else in between. And remember, if you do it, I have to talk about it. Have a great week.